So Geonetwork metadata. Geonetwork metadata is a tool. It's one of the. It's a box of sharp knives in Isabella's kitchen, and it's. I think lots of people over the years have realized they need to keep some sort of catalog of their information, so they've created a little home, or office application, and made up a data schema to decide what it is they want to record and build it up. And that's probably been done 1 million times around the world and then used for a while and then discarded. Over the years, we've seen the evolution of some standards about what to write down about a data system. I think the first really successful one was Dublin Core, which is only 12 or 15, is it, lines of text about a piece of information, about a document or a publication. So you can say what it's called, who wrote it, where it's to be found, and key pieces of information like that. And that's pretty easy to use. When it comes to describing metadata about something like this, that really doesn't cut the mustard. It's just too thin. And so there is an ISO standard, ISO 19115, which is an abstract standard. It says this is a data model that you can record information to describe. Officially, it says geospatial data. That's because it does include elements of geospatial information, but it also includes temporal information and user information and collector information. In fact, it contains so much information that's relevant to almost all data sets that we look after that it has sort of become the de facto standard for the metadata around the world now. The 19139 is a version of that which is expressed in XML. And so if you actually want to know what it looks like when it's written down, that's the standard that you're looking up. Now, the FLA, I think, is that the Food Agency in the States, initially developed this piece of software in order to be able to store their metadata in Dublin Core and another standard, FGEC, which I can't remember what that stands for, but that's another way of talking about it. And the difference between what they did and what everybody else did was that they did it in a way that they could share. So the tool is written as open source software, freely available. It's written in, the core part of it is written in Java, but most of what it does is done using XML and XSLT, that's XML translation, and normal web protocols, normal web HTML type applications. So it's pretty easy to understand how it works. And the other thing they've done is pick up on the OGC, that's the Open Geospatial Consortium, I think, which is another pile of standards about how to share information about maps. So that's Web Map Service, WMS, and Web Feature Service, which is how to share things like shapefiles, equivalents. One of the standards that they wrote is called the Catalog Service, and that tells you how to share information. So now we have one standard for how to write down information about geospatial information, and another standard that says how you can pass it around. I think we'll go on to the next page. And this piece of software does that. It's a federated piece of software. You have your own small database. You can put your own metadata in. You don't have to share it with anybody else. You can just use it as a tool to catalog your own recipes, if you like. But you can then connect it to other nodes of the same system and start to exchange information, and there's good control over how that happens. So you could imagine that we all have a little node of our own, and we manage it, but the information is then harvested up to a central repository, whereby it all gets fed back out. So I could do a search on my local system, and I could find data that was in your system. So it's a very effective federating / harvesting system. Out of the box, it comes with a fairly ugly user interface. It's all blue and boxes and things like that. So first thing most people seem to do is to rewrite that. It is actually very, very easy to do because it's all in these open standards. So I just did a new CSS style sheet to get rid of all the blue and just put it into plain white. And so this is what you see. It's customized for NIWA, and that's just the cover page. And down the side here, we've got the search box, search tool, various categories which you can define yourself, but this gives you an idea that we're not just talking maps here, we're talking data sets, publications, video, applications. You can create new categories. So you could add recipes to this if you wanted to. It's got the RSS feed, so anytime somebody adds a new data set to the system, anybody who's interested in following it gets to find out about it. And these are ones that we've put in recently. Next. The search tool comes back to that bit, the debate we had yesterday about time, place, and organism, if you like. We have when, so the metadata has when it was collected, whether it refers to data over a long, full time period or the rest of it, so we can filter down on that. Where, we can pick a location on the map, we can draw a box on the map, or we can pick just a region, things like that. And then we can search on keywords. There's a full text search built into it, so if you just want to find the entry that somebody put something they shouldn't have done in, the wrong misused word or something like that, you can easily track those down. Next. So the result of the search initially is a list of results of matches. So here we have, we're actually matching a couple of templates. I'll come back to that. And we have algae, environment, Waikato, lake data, which is existing inside of this. So if we go on to the next one. We click on that to see it, and we start to see, you can see here, it's a page about so big in this particular standard. Who, what, when, where, why, how to get in touch, URL, click there to get into the source of the data. So it's a useful tool, and I'll have to start drawing just to finish off. But it's a toolbox. If you've got Geonetwork, you need a database behind it, but you can choose which database you use. We use Postgres, but you can put it into your MySQL or Microsoft SQL. Doesn't matter. Everything's built around web services, so the UI that you see there, so you have edit, search, and display. Modules all come up from there. It uses GeoServer to provide all the map data. And one of the nice features, if you just go back one to the search page, that one, is when you're looking at this. Sorry, go back to one previous again. Yeah, so here you can open this and have a full-size map, and you can start adding new layers from any server that is providing you with WMS data. So if you don't like this picture of the Earth here, you could substitute it for the ones coming out of LINS or the ones coming out from your own GIS system. So you can configure it up to show boundaries, for example, that are relevant to you when you're trying to do interesting searches.